Hey there, Jester here. Are you tired of corporations stealing your data? Of the government knowing everything that goes on in your head? Of hackers finding your most embarrassing secrets? Have you tried using a notebook instead of putting everything online? I'm going to show you how to make your own little paper notebook. Now, of course, you can just go to the dollar store, an art store, stationery store, basically any store that sells paper products. You can buy a notebook for fairly cheap. But if you want to make it a little more personal, or you have printer paper and don't feel like going outside, I'm going to show you how to make one of these. Now, this is a fairly small one in terms of pages. It's only 20 pages. Given the binding, it can only get so thick. It could probably get, more pages than this, but for demonstration purposes, I will be doing a 20-page notebook. And to make this, you will need I have 8.5 by 11 printer paper because that's the most common. I've, pre-cut some. You're going to want some kind of cardstock. It can be fancy or plain. It's just a little nicer than having, a plain paper cover, and it's a little sturdier. I have some stickers for decorating it, even though I personally don't tend to get very decorative with my notebooks and sketchbooks. That's just the way I am. It makes me feel more like it's a little more freeing when it looks less fancy. The more fancy it is, the more I feel like I need to put, real art, meaningful things in rather than just sketching or doodling. But to each their own. For the binding, I have some embroidery floss. Any sort of, thicker string will do. And I've got, a large needle and, scissors to deal with that. I have a ruler, because we will be measuring a bit. A pencil for marking, a push pin to make the holes in the binding. People will generally tell you to use an awl, but that's something I don't have. I am fancy enough to have a bone folder for making nice sharp creases, but really anything flat, rigid, and smooth will serve the right purpose. So, first thing I'm going to do, since I'm going to make these, half size, is I personally measure because I'm kind of a fussy person. So, 8.5 by 11, we want 5.5 inches. For most things I use metric, but in some things it's easier to use inches if it's already made to that size. Like paper is 8.5 by 11, it's easier to go by the inches, so. The other tool I forgot to mention, a box cutter, or whatever paper cutting knife you have. So, why did I bring my plastic ruler? I don't want to cut with my plastic ruler, I need my metal one. Well, you know how organized we are around here. Just a moment. check my materials twice and I still get the wrong ruler. So I want a metal ruler for when I am using a blade, because I don't want to accidentally shave off any of the plastic. There we go. Cut that down the middle. And now we want to fold these. And that's easy enough. We just fold it in half. Line the corners. And this is where the bone folder comes in. It just makes that nice and crisp. Now we'll do the other one. And these just slot into each other, and that's why I pre-folded my other sheets. This would have been 5 sheets of 8.5 by 11 to make 20 pages. You could get thicker with it, but I'm not going to. Now I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to work on the cover. I've just got this plain yellow cardstock, and I need to measure that out to... the long side would be, so it would be 8.5 by 5.5 inches. Well, I think. Hang on. Yes. Yes, I'm second guessing myself now that I'm on camera. Half. Half. And 5.5. And don't worry if you're a little off, because we will be trimming this at the end. There we go. Right, we've got our cover, and once again we are just going to fold that. And get it a little squished down. Pop it in there. And we have what is starting to look like a little book. So now I'm going to open this up so that I can measure out where I want to put the holes. Now you don't have to be absolutely precise with this, but I do like being accurate. So we've got 5.5, so that would be in the middle, would be 275. I think I'd like to bring in by 1/2 inch. I would like 5 holes total, so let's see, 2 1/4, so 1 1/8. And on the other side would be again 2 1/4, so 1 1/8. Now we need to poke holes where we've got our marks. And I'm just going to make those bigger just in case you can't see them on camera. There. And there's my push pin. Now I'm going to put a little scrap piece of foam core underneath so I can push the pin all the way through instead of the tip hitting the table and the hole won't be as big on the far side. I would like the hole to be a uniform size all the way through. Leave that there to keep it all in place. Now I need my thread. So there's two ways of binding these. Either you can put the knot on the outside, which I prefer, or you can make a smaller knot and put it on the inside. So it's basically, do you want, I like it flatter on the inside. Other people don't like the look of the bow on the outside, so they'll just make a little knot on the inside. But yeah, I will show you how I like to do it and tell you how to do it the other way if you so prefer. So I'm going to get me some embroidery thread, like, small yarn would also work, but something thicker than regular thread. I'm going to get one of my big needles. And the way I thread thick thread through a needle is, well, if I had a, I'm blanking on the name. They're the little metal devices to thread needles. But I will just use some string or some small thread, put a loop through, open the loop, put my big thread through, and pull that. So, what we're going to do here is start in the middle, and whichever side that you start on, that's the side that the knot is going to be on. So I'm going to start it from the back side. Pull that through, and I'm going to want to leave some thread on the outside so I can tie it. Okay. So assuming that, yes, we're going to call these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you start at 3, and you go to 4. You flip it over. You go back through at 5. And you go back in at 4. Sometimes it gets a little harder when you've got 2 threads going through it, depending on the size of the hole. And now we skip 3 and we go to 2. Otherwise, we're not going to end up on the middle one at the end. So we go to 2. And then we go through at 1. We go back through 2. And then we head back out at 3. The reason I stopped there is because the long, okay, so you see the long strand. this one is going off to this side. I would like it to come back on the other side of that long one. So back through 3 so that I can tie the knot over top of this middle strand to help hold it in place. There we go. So we've got our binding in the middle, and then we're out here. Make sure everything's nice and tight. This string is between those two. Now I'm going to tie it. Anyone who wants to give me grief for doing bunny ears, this is the way my grandfather did it, and I will not have you besmirch his name. Yeah, double knot it just to make it nice and short. There we go. Go over that with the folder again. Yes, if you want it perfectly flat, if you have a book squisher, you can put it in a book squisher. But what I'm going to do is just leave this out on the table with a couple of, large books on top of it overnight. And that will make it a little flatter. But the next things we can make, this is perfectly workable as it is. But if we want to make it look a little nicer, we're just going to trim the edges so they're nice and straight. And this is one of those times that I wish I had one of those, the guillotine paper cutters. We used to have those in school, and I thought those were quite wonderful. But yeah, we're just gonna cut down here with a nice sharp blade. And we're not going to try to do it all at once. We're just gonna pull it across over and over. Until we hit the cutting board. There we go. Do that for the other sides. Flip that around. And the final one, this is the one that makes it look really good, because instead of having its papers sticking out in sort of that V formation, we're going to make it nice and flat. we go. We have mostly flat. I goofed up a little bit there. And then you want to personalize it a bit more. You can decorate it with paint it, you can put stickers on it, stamp it, do whatever you want. I'm not your mom. What I have, however, are these little bee stickers. They're all attached, so I need to figure out how long to make it. Okay, I think I'm going to cut it right above that bee. I don't want to use my good red scissors for that. These are all attached, so you don't have to do each rhinestone one by one. That would be quite ridiculous. Go. Peel all that off. And I'm just going to let's just set it along the spine here. Very sticky. There we go. Now I have a little notebook all ready to go to fill with whatever I want. And if a corporation wants to steal this data, they actually have to send a guy to my house. Until next time, happy crafting!